What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another installment of the Voice of College Football 365. I'm your host, J. Rob, and I am here with my co-host, Donovan Clemens. Donnie, we are back again. The 10 teams with the most pressure this college football season. I'm excited to get into these graphics, go over these teams. Shout out to everybody that is rocking with us right now. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, leave a like. Also, leave some stuff that you want me and Donnie to cover over the season. Obviously, we are still very early, a few weeks out from the debut of the season, from week 0. We're really excited there. But, Donnie, how you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great, man. Just like you said, football is a few months away. We're getting closer. I was always telling people, as much as I love summer vacation, being away from school, there's something different about going back knowing college football is just right around the corner. So I couldn't be more excited. Let's get into this, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. We are right around the corner. It's going to be a great season, man. I think this new college football playoffs, the new layouts, like, I'll be honest, I feel like college football is kind of like playing a video game right now. You know what I'm saying? And like, we have the one thing I love about this new era of college football, and I'm one of those people for sure that's like, Donnie, I'm cool with change. Evolution is important, things shifting, and there's some things I'm not going to always agree with them changes, but I think it's important for us to evolve with these sports as they grow and get bigger. And I just think we're in an era where there's going to be some teams that are just going to come out of obscurity. And really, I think there's going to be some programs that are going to vault themselves over the next couple of seasons into a different category where we're going to be having real conversations about a team that maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago we wouldn't even been considering having. So I'm excited for the year. But to get into this list, the 10 teams with the most pressure this college football season, and I'm going to say this with this list. This list is compiled based off not really just winning the national championship. National championship is the pressure. But for other teams, it's really getting to the playoff. Yep. Be one of the 12 teams to get in. So me and Donnie compiled this list. He did a phenomenal job with the graphics. Great job, Donnie. That's why we have you. We love you. And so let's get into it. So the first team with the most, and honestly, Donnie, this was one of your picks right here. Yep. I agree with it, though. They were going to make the top 10 for me as well. So I agree with this. We'll start off with the Oklahoma Sooners. Shout out to the OKC Thunder for winning the huge. But in the second college football, the Oklahoma Sooners. Okay, so this is where I begin with this. This is not a program, and the thing is, what you'll notice with this list, the programs who are up here, I think Donnie and I are holding them to the standard of which they are as programs. And so a team like Oklahoma is not a program where they can just be an 8-7 win team. And we look back and say, oh, that was a good year for them. Oklahoma is conference championship, beat Texas, fight your way into a national championship. For this team, the reason why I'll give them 10, I think a lot of the teams ahead of them have more pressure. But I'm also going to give Brett Venables the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway. I don't think he had a pretty good offense going into last year. I think it was a very static, really wasn't the prolific offenses that we're used to at Oklahoma. But the reason why they make this list at number 10 is because what they brought back in return this season. You bring in John Matier, you bring in Jaden Ott. Those two in itself were probably top 3 players at their respective positions heading into the transfer portal. And you got both of them. So there is an expected increase in production on the offensive end. And I've talked about this with Donnie. John Matier is a guy that I feel like could be in New York when we get to December into the winter. I mean, led the nation in touchdowns last year with 44. Jaden Ott, we know how explosive and dynamic of a running back he can be. And then you add Marvin Jones Jr., who I think is pretty slept on edge. I think this is a pretty solid acquisition for Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how this works out. But when I look at the overall landscape of this team, I expect a Brett Venables defense to be able to be up to standard. And let's be honest, some of their wins this year was that defense really just being tough and getting after it and giving them just some extra stops with the ball. So when I look at this team as a whole, Oklahoma is in a very, I would say, optimistic situation given what they've brought in this season. But for them, it is SEC championship, get one of those 12 spots in the college football playoffs.
I completely agree. And, we brought it up earlier about Oklahoma's offense. It really did disappoint last year. They kicked Dylan Gabriel out the door. They said, hey, we believe in this Jackson Arnold kid, former 5-star recruit. He had showed a lot of promise in his bowl game as a true freshman. And last year, I'll just be frank, they were a disaster. That offense was an absolute fumble. At one point, they had 5 to 6 wide receivers out with injury. According to PFF, they had the lowest graded offensive line in the entire SEC. We're talking about Oklahoma. And they had one of the worst offensive lines in the entire country. Jackson Arnold got benched. I know he's not bad enough to get benched because I've seen the flashes, but he was in such a bad situation, he got benched. So, Brent Venables, I believe you could argue, could be on the hot seat because the defense, we know it's Brent Venables, man. He's going to produce a great defense. He's done it every single year. He's been at Oklahoma, except the first year. But even then, he's just made some great defenses there. It's the offense that we're worried about. Bringing in Mateer changes everything because if we believe that this guy is a top 5 quarterback in the country, like he's played like it, this could be huge for Oklahoma. Even though they did lose Nick Anderson, we'll get to him where he transferred to soon. You still have Deion Burks, who is, in my opinion, one of the most slept-on receivers in the country. This is a physical athlete who is dominating Purdue. Just got hurt last year, so I'm expecting a big bounce back from him. And Jaden Ott, we mentioned. I mean, this is one of the 5 best running backs in the country. Another guy who dealt with injuries last year. And Cal was a nice story last year. I know they almost beat Miami last year, but now Ott, he's behind an offensive line that I'm going to assume takes a jump. They returned all 5 starters, which is a big plus for Oklahoma. To me, I really agree with you. I think this team has to make the playoffs if they want to hit that expectations. If not, if you just miss it by like a hair, I can see I'll be like, okay, that's fine. But it's really, let's try to get in this thing. The SEC is tough this year. Your schedule was decently favorable. I mean, listen, the Texas thing, you can beat them anytime. I'm convinced about that. Ole Miss, they're losing a lot of pieces. We'll get to them soon. Tennessee lost Nico. You can win that. South Carolina's a dogfight. You can win that. A lot of these games,
you beat Alabama last year.
You beat Alabama last year.
Beat Alabama last year with no offense.
And you can do it again. So I completely agree with you. J-Rob. To me, this is a team that has to make the playoffs. Adding Mateer is a complete game changer. He's one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the country. Jaden Ott's amazing as well. Marvin Jones Jr., former 5-star recruit who didn't get a lot of playing time at Georgia, but when he did, had some really good flashes. So I'm expecting a lot of great things. Even with losing Danny Stutzman, who he may not have been the most crazy athletic guy. He was the heart and soul of that defense.
I agree with that. Yes.
And
losing IQ player, real IQ linebacker by far.
Absolutely. And one of the best run defenders in the country over the last few years. But he's a guy that's going to be hard to replace. But I trust Venables. I trust him to find a replacement for Billy Bowman. I don't want to say I'm all in on Oklahoma, but is there a world where they can potentially make the SEC championship? And I don't want to say win it because there's a lot of good teams, but just making the SEC championship with how good this roster is, I could see it.
No, I agree, man. And I think the other part too to this whole thing is you have 2 upperclassmen who are going to be leading your charge offensively. Guys who have played a lot of football.
Yep.
Donnie, we know in college that goes a long way.
It does.
They played a lot of football, so I'm excited to see this team. I think honestly we kind of gave them some grace making them only number 10.
A little bit.
A little bit. All right. So next team up, we got number 9. We got the Auburn Tigers.
My team, man.
So this team is funny to me because it's like if Jackson Arnold works, I could almost argue this team could be 6. The reason why they're at 9 is because of that, the question marks about Jackson Arnold. You and I are both in the same position where we do feel like this Auburn offense is going to unlock him a little bit. I do think the offense in Oklahoma just not only was it not catered to his skill set, I just don't think it was that dynamic, honestly. I don't think the play calling was that creative. I think the great thing about good play callers at the college and the NFL level is that they know how to play call and scheme to the abilities of their players. I'll give you an example. Even Penn State, as bad as they were on the perimeter, they knew how to scheme around Tyler Warren, their running game, and their quarterback to, despite their deficiencies, give themselves a shot to win every game they had this season. And that's more attributed to what they had at the play caller position than what they had at the pass catcher. So when I look at Auburn with the facilities that they have at their disposal, I mean, I'm excited to see Eric Singleton there. Cam Coleman is a demon, man. Dog.
He's unreal.
He's a problem.
He's unreal.
Cam Coleman is a receiver that can legitimately be a first-round guy in another year. That's the type of player he could be. And when I say this is no discredit to Ryan Williams. Cam Coleman is as good as Ryan Williams. I'm just going to say
I completely agree.
That might be a hot take, but if you know ball and you know what it takes, the most dependent position in football to the people listening is the wide receiver position because they can't throw it to themselves, chat. And so Cam Coleman is as talented as a Ryan Williams, and I promise you, if Jackson Arnold can get him the football, he will be that level of player. There were some young receivers out there who just needed some quarterback play. Nick Marsh, Michigan State, is another example of a guy who is highly talented but just needed the quarterback to meet the production. But this team overall, defensively, offensively, when I look up and down the schedule is pretty favorable. Honestly, this schedule is awesome. If I'm thinking about, the ones I'm really circling are Oklahoma, Georgia, and Alabama. You win 2 of those, everything's in front of you. Everything is in front of you. You can win 2 of those games. So Auburn, I'm there with it, but the reason why they land at number 9 is because the QB position is the biggest question mark.
Yep, I agree. And also, fun fact real quick, Auburn only a 1.5 favored at Baylor. So I think that's a pretty interesting bet if you're a gambler out there. But no, I agree with everything you said, man. Arnold is the big question here. We believe in the talent. We believe that he can break out, but the Oklahoma tape is the Oklahoma tape. He was very underwhelming last year for a reason. He's going to be in one of the best situations in the entire country, man. This is, I would argue, the second best wide receiver duo in the country behind Ohio State in Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton. They revamped their offensive tackles, bringing in Mason Murphy and Xavier Chaplin. Yep. These are 2 very experienced offensive linemen, and Connor Lew is one of the best centers in the country. And there's a lot of good centers in the country. You have Jake Slaughter. You have Logan Jones. Connor Lew is in the conversation as well as being one of the best centers in the country. His offensive line is a top 5 unit in the country. You have one of the best receiver duos in the country. The pass rush is phenomenal. Kendrick Falk is a guy who's getting a lot of first-round hype right now. Coming off I believe he had a double-digit sack season last year, if not right on the cusp. I don't want to say I don't want to say Auburn has to make the playoffs. I don't want to say that. But if Jackson Arnold is who we think he is, then they have to make the playoffs because this team is talented enough to make the playoffs. And the schedule is fairly favorable, Like, these are games that they can win.
2 lost SEC teams are going to get into the playoffs. They
could start out 5-0 and then head to the bye versus Georgia. They very well could. So I'm all in on the Auburn Tigers this year, man. I already placed down my Auburn Tiger, or not my Auburn Tigers, my Jackson Arnold Heisman pick, plus 7,000. So, man,
throw it in there. Yeah,
but
that's a good sprinkle right there. Yeah, for sure. All right, so we are at number 8. Let me go. Where are they? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, chat. I made a mistake. Let me just grab their image. Here we go. All good. All right, number 8. My favorite team in the country. One of my favorite teams going into this college football season. Obviously, if you've been paying attention and you've been here for the first few weeks, I am buying a lot of stock into Austin Simmons. I am buying it early. I am seeing the bloom before it starts. I was blown away by one drive against Georgia when Jackson Dart went down. Found out this kid is only 19 years old, already graduated from college, came to Ole Miss at 16. This guy is clearly a high IQ player. Could also play Major League Baseball if he decided to, but decided to put all his talents into football. For Ole Miss, they land at number 8 on this list for me, Donnie, because despite them having some losses and losing some key players, I mean, Jackson Dart, Trey Harris, Walter Nolan, Trey, that's all NFL guys. You lose 4 NFL guys. Now, that's a big deal. But the reality is when it comes to Ole Miss, we cannot keep giving Lane Kiffin this hall pass in the SEC. Because my thing when it comes to him, Donnie, and I'm a Lane Kiffin fan, I would love one of my sons to play offense for Lane Kiffin. I think he has that type of ability as a offensive mind. I'm a Lane Kiffin fan. But because despite me being a fan and supporter of his, I'm also a realist about the pedigree and expectations that he has as a head football coach for the Ole Miss Rebels. And with this roster, with his talent, and legitimately with this schedule, you got the big ones are LSU, Georgia. Oh, you got a few. You got LSU, Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina. You should be Florida. I'm gonna be honest. I'm thinking the expectation I have from this team. No. We can shake. I'm with you, Donnie. It could be a toss-up. But the reality is they've put themselves in situations where they'll beat a big team. They'll beat a Georgia. They'll beat a team that you don't expect, and then they lose a head-scratcher. And that's my issue with this team. My issue with Ole Miss is you already showed us that you can compete with the upper echelon of the SEC. You fumble a bag against a team you have no reason losing to. Didn't they lose to Missouri? I'm pretty sure.
I believe they lost to Kentucky.
Kentucky. Head scratcher games. So when the overall outlook for Ole Miss is, I think the talent is still there. I think Lane Kiffin does a great job of recruiting. I think he's the type of guy where he picks certain players that, they'll be 3-4 stars, but I think some of them are get caught in the weeds and always end up blooming well when they get over to him and his his program. This is a team that, regardless of the schedule, they are expected to me to be a double-digit wins this year. And it is time to get over the hump. Like, if you want to make yourself a premier team, Ole Miss has a route, Donnie, that if they can win, if they go one loss with this schedule, they're automatically in, even if they lose the SEC championship game.
Yep.
This schedule is good enough where no matter what, they go one loss, even lose the SEC championship, they will be one of the 12 best teams in the country.
As someone who, I'm a Kiffin guy, I know everyone makes fun of the quarterbacks translating there for the draft, but in terms of what he is, he's one of the best offensive minds in the country. That RPO system is one of one. It's hard to master, and guys who have mastered it have looked really good with it. The Jackson Dart, Matt Corral, for example. My issue with Ole Miss is I'm just a little bit buried right now, man. This is a team that I put all my chips in on last year. I put a bet that they were going to win the Natty. I thought the defensive line talent that they added in, Princely, Walter Nolan, 2 guys that ended up being very high picks. The team just disappointed. They lost games that they shouldn't have. They lost to Kentucky for no reason, and then they lost to Florida for no reason. But they go out there and they beat Georgia. It's just, I don't understand, man. This team is just so strange. I'm a little bit low on them right now. Granted, I am just because I'm so sore and sour for what happened last year because I was all in on Ole Miss last year. Had them going 11-1 last year. Still ended up going, I believe it was they went 9-3. So still not bad, but didn't make the playoffs, which was a huge disappointment for me. So I agree, man. I mean, we were talking about Austin Simmons off air. Like, he really could be one of those guys in the country that could potentially lead this team to the playoffs. They still have the talent. They did lose some guys. Like I mentioned, Jackson Dart, Trey Harris, Walter Nolan, Trey Amos, Princely Manielen. They lost some dudes, but this is Ole Miss. This is a team that reloads very well. This is a team that goes into the portal and does a good job. They brought in Ricky Fletcher, a guy who I think can start as a boundary CB1. Deshaun Sibling's a guy who I think he could take over. Maybe not be quite Trey Harris level, but be a guy who can be a good complementary to Harris and Wallace.
Right.
I see the vision with Ole Miss. I'm just so burned after what happened last year. Yep. I still expect this team to win at least 8 to 9 games, potentially sneak their way into the playoffs. But if they do manage to make the playoffs with this roster and not make it last year, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be a little upset.
I agree, man. I agree. I mean, the expectations are on this program. It's the reality. You can't run from it. And the expectations, they mount up. You only get so many mulligans, man, before it's time to put up.
Yep.
All right, so number 7. All right, so I got Clemson at number 7. Now, this is not one of them situations where the coach is like, Dabo Swinney is not on the hot seat.
No, not at all.
But for a team that has dominated the ACC and had a moment in the late 2010s where they looked like they were on their way to be one of the premier programs in college football, to me, when it comes to Clemson, Donnie, it's just about regaining the glory. It's just thrusting yourself back into the spotlight. Nothing to do with, I don't think the coach is on the hot seat. I don't think anything like that. I think Cade Klubnik has Heisman potential this year, first round potential this year. I'm definitely a fan of his game. That backstretch of last season, I see what everybody else sees. There's a lot of talent there. Dabo Swinney evolving with the times, bringing in transfers.
That's a first.
At first, he pushed against it. Realized, don't let this thing evolve without me. And Clemson be in a situation where they can't compete because they're only going after kids out of high school. No. You evolve with the times. I think they beat LSU game 1 of the year. I really do. I look down the schedule. The only places that I feel like are going to be kind of spooky for them, SMU, and then to have 2 weeks off to go play Duke, I think that'll be kind of scary because I think Mensa is a decent quarterback over there at Duke, and if he can put it together with that roster, I think they'll be okay. And then we'll see what Florida State is with their new quarterback. He feels like the Florida State quarterback, Thomas Castellanos. He did say that he finally has a roster around him and that he's dominated the ACC for 2 years. So we are going to see. But I think there's no reason, Donnie, why they're not 6 weeks into the season, 6-0 heading into at SMU, which will really be a swing game because if SMU is also undefeated, it's going to be probably the game of the week. Going to have major implications. So what are your thoughts on the Clemson Tigers?
Yeah, man. I agree with that, by the way. And we got a lot of good games week 1. We got Notre Dame, Miami. We have Ohio State, Texas. Clemson, LSU might be the best of them all. I think this is the best team in the country. I think top to bottom roster-wise, this is the most complete roster that Dabo's had since the 2019 LSU Tigers when they lost to the 2019 LSU Tigers. I mean, dude, I think this roster is just that good. The receiving core is great. Antonio Williams is awesome. Bryant Westco is great. TJ Moore was a really good freshman last year. Another freshman that got under the radar because of how good Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams were. They have the 2 best defensive linemen that are eligible for next year's draft.
I agree with that as well.
And Peter Woods. These are 2 superstars of college. Haven't watched a ton of Peter Woods. Reminds me a lot of Christian Wilkins. TJ Parker. Go turn on the pit game, and you're just going to see him lawn arming those.
Dominate.
Just dominate. He's a top 3 edge rusher in the country behind the big 2 of Dylan Stewart and Colin Simmons. And they lost some guys. They lost R.J. Mickens, a very talented safety. Not too concerned about it. Losing Barry Carter sucks, but Sammy Brown, true freshman last year, who was a 5-star, played really well. You can expect a big breakup for him going into year 2. And Will Held is a guy that, like we said, he actually went into the portal and got a good player. Will Held was one of the 5 best edge rushers in the entire portal, had a really good year for Purdue last year. He's going to be next to TJ Parker, who's going to be a potential top 10 pick. That could be huge for that defensive line. Avion Terrell. A corner who I think, and I don't want to, say anything mean about the guy because I think he's awesome. I think he's a first-round pick easy. He's getting a little overrated right now when people are calling him the best corner in the country, but he's still easily.
Avion?
Yes. I love Avion. I think he's great. I think he's
Who's the best corner in the country right now?
I think it's Leonard Moore out of Notre Dame. After what I saw in those playoffs, after what I saw, and he was a true freshman last year, I think he's already the best press corner in the country. But Avion's still a fantastic.
Can I just, before we get into, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just because we're talking corners, can I just give you
You're the corner, not me.
I'm going to say something. I want it right here just in case we get this for a clip because we might need this later. I think Cormani McClain is going to take the college football world by storm next year at corner. There's a reason why he walked on at Florida. There's a reason why Florida was willing to bring him in. There's a reason why they played him in the blowouts to let him get reps. Say what you want. I love Leonard Moore. I love Avion. There's not a corner in the country more physically gifted. I'm just letting you know that right now, Donnie. And if his head's on right and he's putting it together on the field, Cormani McClain will be a starter at Florida and will be vying for best corner in the country. I just want to put that out there now because if 6 weeks into the season, we're talking about the Jim Thorpe and Cormani McClain's in a conversation.
Oh, wow.
I'm coming back to June 24th, 2025, where J-Rob sat here and told you that Cormani McClain was going to have a breakout collegiate season at the cornerback season for the Florida Gators. Just want to put that out there. All right.
That's a good call, man. If that happens, hats off to you if that happens.
Just want to put that back. Oh, excuse me.
Whoop. I disappeared.
Where is my asset? All right, here we go. Boom.
There it is. All right, but yeah, just to wrap it up with Clemson, I think this is the most complete team in the country. We'll get to some other teams where I have even small questions about. I don't really think I have any questions about this Clemson roster. They have a proven winning coach, Kate Klubnik, one of the 5 best QBs in the country. They have a top at least 10 offensive line in the country, top 5 wide receiver core, one of the best D-lines, if not the best D-line in the country, top 5 secondary, top 10 linebacker core. Like, this team is ready to win.
Yes.
The smallest question you do have is, you got to remember, as great as Dabo is, the 2 guys he won that, he's with the Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. And as great as Kate Klubnik is, don't think he's quite on those guys' level. So you can question that for sure. I think this team is ready to win the Natty. I think this is the best team in the country. I expect them to win the Natty, and anything less of that, to me, is a disappointment.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I mean, you hitting it on the nose right now. It's put up or shut up. I could honestly argue we could put them higher just because of how complete the roster is. But just because if they didn't win it, because they're like the lone top team in the ACC, we're kind of going to look it off because of the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Texas of the world. Clemson has done a great job remaining in the ACC because they can kind of stay hidden from some of the scrutiny compared to the other bigger programs in the country, to be honest.
Sure.
The USC Trojans. Now, this is one of my pools, and honestly, this might not be fair because compared to the rest of the teams on this list, they might not be as talented. So I'll put it out there right now. But the reality is this is still USC. And I'm with what's my head coach's name? Why can't I think of his name right now? Ohio State. He was at why can't I think of his Urban Meyer, excuse me. But Urban Meyer said that at Ohio State, I know if I go 8-5, my job might be on the line. Lincoln Riley has had a long hall pass at USC. It's 3 years now. 3-year hall pass is too long. And the reality is, it's the same nonsense, lack of defensive effort, lack of defensive capabilities. And then you go out there and you move heaven and earth to bring Lincoln Riley in. And just because they're in the Big Ten now, there's not going to be this huge grace period. Now, luckily for Lincoln Riley, he's put together a phenomenal recruiting class. And Donnie, you and I both know a phenomenal recruiting class gives you more leeway. It does.
It does.
And so, and I'm not saying this because I'm a guy who believes in Lincoln Riley. There's a reason why he got like 3 quarterbacks that he's produced starting in the National Football League right now. Yeah. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Jalen Hurts are top 15 quarterbacks in the National Football League. He legitimately did that, and he's about to add another one with Caleb Williams.
Yep.
So I'm not taking nothing away from him as a signal caller, as a producer of talent. But it is you can't just be a genius. You got to be a genius and a winner. And for me with USC, it's not national championship. But to me, this is one of the best years in the Big Ten to go out there and sneak your way into a Big Ten championship game, sneak your way into a playoff. Because there's only like 2 or 3 ops in the Big Ten you should really be looking past. And when I look at the schedule, you should be 8-0 by Notre Dame. And this is no disrespect to Michigan. I don't think having an 18-year-old quarterback, unless this kid is a genius off the rip, I don't think Bryce Underwood is going to be looking as prolific out the gate. But when I look at Missouri State, Georgia Southern, Purdue, Michigan State, don't let Luke Altmaier get the ball with 2 minutes left at Illinois. I'll put that out there. Do not let Luke Altmaier get the ball with the last 2 minutes at Illinois, because that could be a conversation. But heading past your bye week into Michigan, you should beat Michigan heading into Notre Dame 8-7-0. I feel like anything above that was not a successful first 7 weeks. And then you look at the back end of the year, you have Notre Dame and Oregon. Those are your 2 biggest games. There's no way this USC team with this schedule, there's no way this team is not a 1-loss team, 2-loss team max. They should be heading into the Big Ten with 1 loss. I really feel that way. And that 1 loss should be Oregon, because I don't know who's playing quarterback at Notre Dame. So I just feel like when it's with the USC, it's time to rip the Band-Aid off. It is no more. We're still developing. You have one of the best NIL budgets in the entire nation. It is time to figure it out and put that product on the field.
Yeah, fair enough. Especially for a coach like Lincoln Riley, who has gotten a lot of passes in his career, I feel like. I mean,
yes.
He's still one of the smartest offensive minds. We all know this. He's produced all these great quarterbacks, Baker, Kyler, Hurts, Caleb, all these guys. Even Rattler had some nice moments here and there. Like, he had some good moments, but
yep.
I agree, man. Like, when you are at a high program like this and you dominate the Pac-12, and then the first year in the Big Ten, I think they went 6-6. It's not a great look, especially when you started off pretty good. You beat LSU. You beat LSU. Like, looking back on it, I still don't know how they did that, because the team disappointed that much. You put up a heck of a fight versus Penn State. I mean, a heck of a fight.
I remember that game.
It took everything Drew Allar had just to manage, and Singleton, Katron,
and a few Tyler Warren 99 spectacular catches.
It took Tyler Warren having, what do you have?
The best catch of the season, I think.
Yeah, like 18 catches or something to win that game, and you still went 6-6. Like, enough, man.
Enough.
I'm not saying you need to go. I'm a little lower than them, J-Rob. I'm not saying you need to go make the playoffs. I'm not saying you need to go 10-2. Just show me good improvement. Good improvement. Show me 9-3. I'll give you losses to Notre Dame, Oregon, and I'll give you a weird random loss. Like, let's say they maybe lose to Altmaier in Illinois, or maybe they drop one in Nebraska or Iowa. Fine, whatever. 9-3. That's what I'm giving you. You go below. Number. You go below that.
Yeah. Come on, conversation.
I don't like it, man. I don't like it.
Yeah, conversation. And I'll say this last part, just, doing some research. I'm based out here in LA. I got my ear to the ground.
Yep.
Hassan Longstreet, man, there's some rumblings that there might be trying out a freshman at QB1 and with the Trojans.
Ooh.
I don't know for sure. I'm still in on Jaden Maeva being the number 1 guy, but the way they're talking about this kid, Donnie, I mean,
be on the lookout for him. Huh?
You never know. And look, I'll say this. If there's one coach that I would allow to give the nod to a true freshman to go out there and play quarterback, is for sure Lincoln Riley. I've seen him do it a few times now, and it's worked out. So I'll give him the nod. But Bryce Underwood in Michigan, I don't know who they got calling plays. I don't know if I'm giving him the nod. All right. The Texas Longhorns come in at number 5. The reality is, it's time to be in a national championship game. For me, they're one of the teams at 5. I think the last 5 teams, I think, except for one, is national championship or bust. Texas Longhorns this year, yeah, you might have Arch Manning for 2 years, but you might not have him for 2 years.
He might be gone.
You might be trying out Dia Bell next year. So it is win national championship or bust. And I'm going to say this part too, because I do agree with this. I know some people on TV have gotten some flack for just saying it out loud. But yes, if you think Arch Manning is better than Quinn Ewers, and you thought he was better than Quinn Ewers a season ago, It is no reason why this team should not be in national championship consideration because, Donnie, they were a game away.
They were a couple plays away.
They were a couple plays away. You hear me? A couple plays away.
Yep.
So that Texas-Ohio State game, they come out on top because, though I'm an Ohio State for lifer, I'm taking Texas to win the first game. I'm going against the Buckeyes. And I love that team. And then I look down the schedule. You got one shaky one. We'll see what Florida is. Oklahoma is going to be a coin flip. You better not lose to Vanderbilt. I don't care what Diego Payet.
Don't pull Alabama.
Yeah, but you don't play Bama this year,
which is good.
I'm expecting you to beat Georgia. Actually, because I'm not too sold on Georgia, bro. I don't know about the quarterback.
Yep.
And then look, I like Marcel Reed, but I don't think you should be losing to Texas A&M either. Like,
no,
I think the SEC gave you a decent one, man. Donnie, this is a good schedule, man.
Yep, I agree.
What are your any takeaways from Texas? I don't got much to say. I think the proof is in the pudding.
A couple of things I want to throw out there is I am very interested to see how Trey Moore does at linebacker. This was a guy who had double-digit stats last year whenever he played edge rusher next to Colin Simmons. They feel really good about Ethan Burke playing edge rusher. They feel really good about him moving to linebacker. And this is, he's going to be playing next to the best one in the country. Anthony Hill was a projected first-round pick at linebacker, which is very rare to find those projected first-round picks. Yeah. We don't have many often. Jihad went the first round last year. And, he went at 30, so that should tell you it's hard to find linebackers that go early. This could be a top 20 pick. I think the offensive line is going to be a little interesting. They have one returning starter, which is DJ Campbell at right guard.
Yeah.
But it's Texas. I'm not going to worry about the O-line much. CJ Baxter's coming back, which is huge. I know you lost Matthew Golden. Ryan Wingo could be better. He could be better. That's how talented.
I agree with that.
That's how talented of a receiver he is. DeAndre Moore, I like a lot. Parker Livingston, I've heard some good things about. I agree, man. I think this team is national championship of bust. Yes. I'm not saying you have to go 12-0 because I don't think that's real. I don't think it's fair to say any team you have to go 12-0. You can go 11-1 and still get a top seed. That's completely fair.
I agree.
Just come on, man. This is your year. You're the best team in the SEC. The SEC is the powerhouse of college football. Yes. You are the best team. You got to go out there and show it. And I think we're going to learn a lot about them week 1 when they play the Buckeyes.
Yeah, no, for real. You're saying it right. You're hitting on the nose. We're going to find out what this team is made of this upcoming season, for real. All right, number 4, Miami Hurricanes. Listen, bro, I don't want to hear about a defense this season, Donnie. And this guy, Carson Beck, that's the guy I'm circling because everybody's giving him a lot of grace. And they believe that going to Miami was the right move for him. I think that Notre Dame game, it's going to be very telling because honestly, this could be a disastrous season or it could be a magical one for the Hurricanes. Because Donnie, I look at Notre Dame could be a win or a loss. Florida could be a win or a loss. We'll see what Florida State is.
Who knows?
I just don't know. You could lose. You're going to SMU. They're not playing. SMU is coming for blood this year. SMU in their minds, Donnie, is they can win the ACC.
They could.
And then I'll be honest. I'm putting a little bit of stock in the CJ Bailey in the Wolfpack. Just a little bit.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put a little bit of stock in that NC North Carolina State team, and then we'll see what happens with Virginia Tech. I think they should run through Pittsburgh. Yeah. But ultimately, Donnie, when I look at this whole schedule, Miami, you got to get it out of the mud. I really don't care if you got some tough matchups. Like, you got close last year. I think Cam Ward, Restrepo set a culture. It's time to Mario Cristobal it's time for the second layer of that. And I feel like just being competitive in the ACC is not enough. You need to be in the ACC championship window because if you win the ACC championship, you get into the playoff.
Yep.
You don't got to win it. I don't think they got to win the Natty, But you need to get – I think they need a playoff spot for sure, expectation.
I think the expectation is they should be right up there with Clemson in the ACC title game. That's exactly what they should be. I'm really excited for CJ Daniels transferring to Miami. I mean, dude, he had 1,000 yards in 2023.
Yes.
He had 1,000 yards with Jaden Daniels back in 2023. Last year, very big down year, only had about 500 yards. I think him going to a new culture, having a quarterback, you're the number one. Like, hey, you're our number one guy. We're giving you this NIL money to be our number one guy. The offensive line you worry about a little bit. However, Francis Monangai, that's I'd argue the best right tackle in the country right now. He's going to be a projected first-round pick. Ruben Bain, a guy who has gotten so under the radar. We talk about Dylan Stewart and Colin Simmons and T.J. Parker and Kedrick Fall and Sapp from Florida. And those guys are great. Ruben Bain, I think, is on that level. Maybe not the top 2 level, but he's on those level of a potential first-round edge rusher. He dominated as a freshman and just last year was hurt a lot. So I'm expecting a big bounce back for him. I could see him being a top 15 pick. I agree with you, man. I think this is a team that could maybe sneak their way into the playoffs. You don't have to win it to get in. You got to be close, though, because there is a very real chance where the SEC just beats each other up and only 4 or 5 teams in the SEC get in, and then maybe only the big 3 from the Big Ten get in, being Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon.
I think the ACC only going to get 2 teams every year, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Clemson and Miami are going to be the ones. So I agree, man. I think
Notre Dame kind of always is going to mess it up too. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, but Notre Dame kind of steals that other ACC spot to me.
And that's the big question. Like, I do believe Clemson's going to get in. If they don't get in, that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But Notre Dame versus Miami, I think that's going to tell a lot. That's going to show us that's still one of the best defenses in the country. I know they lost a lot. That's still one of the best defenses in the country. Carson Beck, you're going to go out and show me, man, because I'm not going to really give you that big. I'll give you a small pass because your wide receivers were kind of iffy. But I'm not giving you a big pass or anything. You got to go out and show me, man. I had high expectations for you, and you disappointed me. So go out and show me, man.
Yeah, he definitely owes you. He was his biggest advocate.
You go out and beat Notre Dame, and you put up gaudy numbers, I'll tip my hat to you. But you got to go out and show me, man.
It's funny, though, because Carson Beck has his entire destiny in his hands.
He does.
He'll go out there and run the table at Miami. He'll go back. He'll be nodded back into the first round like nothing ever happened. Seriously. I'm being honest, though. I mean, the schedule in itself is enough to get that part done. You win 1 or 2 playoff games, because I don't think they'll come in as a top 4 seed unless they go undefeated and win out. But I'm expecting them to be like a 6, 7 seed. You win 2 games. I mean, Ohio State, they won the first one, and they were granted probably underseeded, but I mean, so. We'll see what happens. All right, number 3, LSU Tigers. I got him at number 3, and this is all on Brian Kelly. You've had 3 seasons with a prolific offensive firepower, and you've put out defenses comparable to early 2010s, late 2010s Big 12. And so the reality is you have Garrett Nussmeier. Let's be honest, man. We both know this. He could be a first-round pick. Gunslinger, has the tools. You get back Harold Perkins Jr. this season. This was a guy who was also considered a first-round talent. Not only that, I do like Nick Anderson. I like Aaron Anderson. I like both of them. I like Barry Brown, too. I don't want to take him out. But I do say we know what LSU wide receivers, I'll say the one thing about them, Donnie, for the last 5 to 6 years, there has been no letdown at that position. The production at the position hasn't had a letdown. The biggest letdown has been the defense. Them adding Patrick Payton and Mansour Delane, I think that is huge in terms of not only depth, but having other ways that they can beat you. So when I look at the LSU Tigers, Brian Kelly, you left Notre Dame for what you think is greener pastures in Baton Rouge. LSU's a bigger brand, Donnie. Well, actually, Notre Dame's probably the bigger brand, even. But I'm saying expectation-wise, the expectations of LSU are bigger. what they want to see and what they want you to deliver is bigger. Notre Dame is okay just having to made it to the national championship. That was a great year for them. Them being in it, Marcus Freeman will probably be there for that probably served him another 5 years as the head coach. Brian Kelly, on the other hand, I think you don't win here. It's a good shot, real good shot. There's going to be conversation about your job. You lost Bryce Underwood to Michigan. There'll be some question marks. And I look at the schedule. I mean, there's some games that'll be tough, but I think an 8-win season is not going to cut it. I think it's making a playoff. I think it is time to make their first appearance in this playoff format.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think them in Texas, Georgia, Alabama, I think they're all in that tier 1 in the SEC.
Yep.
Garrett Nussmeier, we agree. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Cade Durham as well. One of the most talented freshman running backs in the country last year. He put up insane numbers for a true freshman last year. They brought in Nick Anderson, Baron Brown. These are two very talented wide receivers who just got underutilized because of the situations that they were in. Nick Anderson, was dealing with injuries last year. Baron Brown, just it's hard to produce at Kentucky when it's just such a disaster right now. The offensive line, for me, that's really the only question because you're losing. I believe they lost 3 out of their 5 starters, if not 4. And obviously losing, the big one, Will Campbell, losing the top 5 pick is going to hurt. Emory Jones as well. They lost some interior players, but I think this is finally the chance we could see the defense beat because that's what held LSU back
easily
years ago when they had Jaden Daniels. That was a national championship contending offense. Just the defense was so bad. Agree. And last year, the offense was still really good. Maybe not quite that Jaden Daniels level, but the defense still wasn't quite there. Now I think the defense is ready to take that step up. 10-2 with the Warriors because the schedule is a little bit tough. You got to go to Clemson and you got to go to Bama, but this is a team that should be in the playoffs. So this is a team that could even maybe win the national championship. So I agree, man. I think this team, I don't say boom or bust because, the offensive line is so young. A lot of these guys on defense are young too, but man, I think this team could win the Natty.
I agree. All right, number 2, Penn State Nittany Lions. I think me and you both agree. I mean, head-to-toe roster, it's as good as you could get in the Big Ten.
Yep.
From quarterback, you added 3 wide receivers, not 1. You retooled the entire room.
As they needed to.
You took Syracuse's best receiver. You took a guy out of USC, and then you added Devontae Ross. You pretty much said, we're going to get it right at quarterback. I mean, at wide receiver. You easily have the best tandem of running backs in the country. Easily the best tandem. So I look at this, and I'll say this too. Luke Reynolds are going to be nice filling them shoes of Warren. I'm telling you right now, do not be surprised if they are able to still get some of that same level of production from Luke Reynolds that they got from Tyler Warren. I'm all there with him as a guy. And then I really like the defense as a whole. I like the guys that they're returning. I don't think defense really ever been their issue last season. It was really offensive firepower. I think they were having to do really a makeshift carry job between Drew Aller, Tyler Warren, and their running backs to get the job done on a weekly basis. But with all that being said, their only op in the Big Ten this year to me, the only team that I can say might be definitively better than them this year on paper, at least on paper, is either Oregon or maybe Ohio State. But outside of those 2 teams, Penn State probably has the best clear-cut roster in the Big Ten from position down, pound for pound.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm all in on Penn State this year. I mean, dude, look at the key additions. Wide receiver. They knew what their one problem was last year whenever they played Notre Dame. They had no guys on the boundary that can create any type of separation and have Drew Aller just a comfortable blanket outside of Tyler Warren. Adding Trevor Penna is amazing. This was a 900-yard receiver at Syracuse. He's dynamic after the catch. Devontae Ross had over 1,000 yards at Troy. Kyron Hudson, some of the most insane hands in the country. We've all seen that one clip. We've all seen it.
So, I was here. I was in L.A. I watched it live.
It was absurd, man. And the defense, I'm not going to worry about. I know they lost Abdul Carter, Kobe Kane. They lost Kevin Winston. The
They'll
defense is going to be great. This is one of the best secondaries in the country still. I have questions about the linebackers, but the front four, Zane Durant, Denison, that's one of the best defensive tackle edge rusher duos in the country. The schedule is decently favorable as well. You may look at it and say they play some tough teams, but the thing is, you have a bye going into Oregon and a bye going into Ohio State.
Yes.
So you have extra time to prepare for the two top dogs of the Big Ten. I think you have to win the rest of your games. That's no question. And then you have to win at least one of those games.
You get through week 5. If I'm Penn State, I'm looking to make sure I win either week 5 or week 10. I win one of those games, I'm good.
Yeah,
I just got to win one of them.
I'm good. Just win one of them. I'm not saying you have to go 12-0. Just go 11-1, and you're feeling fantastic. So I'm all in on Penn State, man. This is the best running back duo in the country. They returned 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. I'm big on Luke Reynolds. This was a 5-star tight end who got to sit behind Tyler Warren.
Yep.
That's awesome. Like, you're sitting behind one of the best college football tight ends of all time. Expected him to take a big jump, and he doesn't have to be the number 1 like Tyler. You have Trevor, you have Devontae, you have Hudson.
There's relief now.
So I think this team is ready to go. And the big question is, can James Franklin win in the moment? That's just the question, because he's never really done it in his career. I think this is the best team he's had in his career, and it's not even close. If Penn State wins the Natty this year, I'm not shocked.
Yeah, you shouldn't be surprised. I mean, this team is fully capable. And finally, the number 1 team with the most pressure this year, I think it's not even close to me. I think it's them by a landslide. The Oregon Ducks. And the reason why I feel like this, Donnie, is the first thing I'm going to say. This is like the uncrowned king of college football. This is a program for the better half of 2 decades. It's been one of the premier programs in college football. 10 double-digit wins, Rose Bowl victories, national championship appearances, playoff appearances. And it's usually like 1 or 2 games you look at that they didn't get past the hump. 1 game where they weren't physical enough like the other team. This is a blue chip program that doesn't have a national title in its trophy case, not even one. I mean, it feels like a team with all this money, unlimited resources. There's just no way I look at this program. I look at Dan Lanning and say it's time to reach Valhalla. My thing for Oregon is national championship expectations. They have already heralded and crowned Dante Moore as their savior. There's just they avoid Ohio State in the regular season. The only game I'm circling on their schedule, Donnie, is just the Penn State game. This schedule is cake. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but who on this schedule they losing to outside of Penn State? That would make sense. If you were to pick every one of these games, the only game that's a pick 'em game is the Penn State game. Oh, maybe Indiana. Maybe Indiana.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe. At Washington, I'm higher on USC than you are, but I still think they're better than USC. Everything's in front of Oregon. They should have one of the 4 spots in the playoffs. They should be getting ready for another situation where they play 2 games to win it all. It is time to finally put that coveted trophy that has been eluding them for the greater half of 2 decades.
Yeah, I mean, and sorry for the graphic mess up on the right side.
No, it's good. It's good.
Happened there, but key losses. Those are the guys they added. Isaiah World. That's the thing about Oregon. They lost a lot of offensive linemen. They lost both their starting tackles. One of them went in the first round to the Commanders, but Isaiah World is the big one. A lot of people are rejecting him to be maybe OT1 in next year's draft. This is a super high upside kid. Big dude, about 6'8", freak of an athlete. Mekhi Hughes, one of the 5 best running backs in the country. Dylan Thyman, as great as Caleb Downs is, and he is the best safety in the country. If you ask me right now, who is the best safety to just leave out in deep space, cover 1, cover 2, leave him out there? I think Dylan Thyman, you could argue, is the best pure deep safety in the entire country. They used him raw whenever he was at Purdue. Kind of like the Malachi Starks thing where they kind of threw him in the slot when he's just purely a deep safety guy. So Love him. I think he's awesome. Bear Alexander, a guy who's transferred a lot, but a super talented kid as well. Yeah, dude, I'm with you, man. I think this team has to make the playoffs. I don't think I think I agree. I think this team kind of has to win the Natty. I think this team is ready to go. I know they lost some pieces, but I think they did a good job replacing them. The one grace I will give them is losing Evan Stewart to injury sucks a lot. I get it. Yeah. You're going to be relying on a true freshman to be a wide receiver one, but it could be a Jeremiah Smith thing, man. Decarian Moore, I can't talk, has been hyped up to be an insane wide receiver prospect. Maybe he can have a connection with Dante Moore. And the defense is going to be better than last year, which is one of the things that held them back was that the run defense was pretty bad. I'm expecting it to be better this year. So I agree. I think 11-1, no excuses. If you lose to Penn State, that's fine, whatever. But every other game, you should win.
I agree. So, chat, that's our list. Those are the 10 teams with the most pressure heading into this college football season. We will do more of these lists. We got more coming, obviously. We're trying to figure out. We're thinking about doing. We're figuring out our date for our 2 shows a week. We'll have that scheduled out, and just rock with us every Tuesday. We'll always be here on Tuesday. That second day is coming. Maybe a few Sundays during the season. But thank you for rocking with me and Donnie on here. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next episode.